Hello, my name is David Webb and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's me to go first. I can see immediately that I don't have a bingo. I'm therefore looking to score well and leave myself with a good rack leave. The first word, which looks reasonable, is core, but I can see immediately that claw is an improvement. It scores more, and ADS is a better leave than ADLS. L is an okay letter, but it's not a great letter, and I don't particularly like the L with the D. An R would go much better with a D, for example. I can't see anything better than claw, and ADS is quite a good leave. And I draw the Q, which isn't good. I don't have a U, and I don't have an I. So in terms of short words, I don't have any that are available from my rack alone or from my rack together with the floaters on the board. I do have QAD, so if an I is played, there is the possibility of playing caddy or cade, in addition to the possibility of playing chi. Apart from the Q, my rack is not too bad. But the real problem will arise if I can't play the Q at all on my next move. I'll have to decide whether to change letters or whether to keep the Q and play a word with some of my other tiles. But since my other tiles are quite good, I think I'll be inclined to change the Q. Well, my opponent has played a U, but it's not accessible. So what shall I do? I think I will change my tiles. Well, before I do that, I ought to look for the best play available. Which may involve putting the G above the U of pout. So play like Gad would score 18 points. But keeping the Q on my rack is probably worth a negative of 13 points. So, what to do? I'm a little loath to change when I can score 18 points. I do of course have a word I can play. Gosh, I've got cat. Well, I'm glad I didn't play anything. I'm glad I didn't miss that. That would have been pretty remiss. Okay, cat. I think I was drawn to the U and overlooked the T. Which is poor. Anyway, cat I think is clearly the best move. Right, and I have an okay rack. It's not a bingo rack, either as a 7 or with any floaters that are available. But I should be able to score reasonably well. flexion. That's a nice move by my opponent. I'm looking to play off the F and the G. And I also will be looking, or am looking, at the floaters provided by flexion, the I, the O and the N, just to see if there is an 8-letter bingo, but I can't see one. It would be nice to play fog somewhere, but I can't see anywhere to play that, which scores well. The double, well, I could just play fog here. It scores 14 points, and that's the disappointing aspect of the play. It's just not enough points. Goof would be slightly better in terms of score. That's 16 points. But it's not great. I wonder if I could use the F inflection to make a word which has got 2 Fs. Well, I've got offend for 26 points. That's 10 more points, but it leaves a rack leave of GS. So is the DENS leave worth 10 points more than GS? It's probably going to be close. Tricky. I think I'll stick with goof. This may be suboptimal, but I don't think it's majorly suboptimal compared to offend. Right, I'm back with a rack I've seen before. This is Sundays. I know therefore that it goes with M to make Medusans, because that I had this rack in an earlier video. And I can play Sundays pluralizing pout and also pluralizing flexion. So I think I'd be pretty unlucky if both of those options were blocked by my opponent. I'm looking to see if there is anywhere else I can play Sundays. And I can't see anywhere. There are not many floaters available. There's the F from flexion, and I can't see a bingo through that. And there's the L of flexion, which looks slightly more promising, but I can't see a bingo through that either. There's nothing through the N of flexion or the G of goof that I can see. But I ought to be able to get Sundays down. I would prefer to pluralise pout, because then Sundays would hit a double word square and score more than the location in row M. Right, well that's disappointing that my opponent has immediately played a second bingo straight after the first one. But we can only do the best with what we've got. My opponent has provided another location for Sundays in column 3, but it's not as good as this location. That's 75 points. And I draw the Z, which is good. I notice immediately that the A of Sundays is next to a double word square. So for example, I could play Z, ZA, E and S for about 50 points, which would be good. But where else can I score well? I think that's going to be the highest scoring place on the board. I've got buys and F in column 5. Well, that will be for 40 points. That's not bad. Well, let's just have a look at this score for Z. So Z gets 50 and leaves me with blip. Whereas buys gets 40 and leaves me with PEL. B and P are not a good pair of letters to keep. But I think the advantage of Z, in addition to the 10 extra points, is that it doesn't provide my opponent with an opportunity to score off the Z, whereas if I played buys, the Z would be in square D5, so my opponent could play a move which ends in a Z and is doubled. Well, this isn't an easy decision, because blip is really not a good leave. So am I missing something? Well, there is PIs or Ps, P-E-I-Z-E. But that doesn't, which plays in column 3, but, well, all column 5. But that would leave BL. I think Z's okay. It draws me nearly level. And I can't see another move which is clearly better. Wow, that's quite nice. I have ebsosseh. I don't think I have anywhere to play it, but that may change, depending on what my opponent does. Okay, he does not provide somewhere for me to play ebsosseh. So what can I do with this rack? I certainly need to split up the duplicate I if I can. Bio scores 22. That's not bad, and it's not a bad leave either. But is there anything better? Nothing is jumping out at me. I notice that the Q is still available for having an I placed immediately to its right. But I can't see anything better than... I can't see any move utilising the queue, which is better than the bio move. Pile isn't a bad leave. Well, I'm glad I did use one of my eyes, otherwise I would have had 3 of them. I have Lirio, that's nice. There's nowhere to play it at the moment. So we'll see if my opponent provides somewhere for me to play Lirio, but I'm not expecting him to. Right, he's played HM for 13. Now that takes an M as a hook, and I notice that there is still another M out there. So it's possible he has that M and regards row O as available only to him. There's not a lot I can do about that. So how can I best make a move with this rack? There's Piley. I need to keep the board slightly open, because if my opponent does score well in row O, I may be limited in terms of opportunities of coming back. But of course the risk in opening the board is that I provide an opening which my opponent can take advantage of. Piley for 23 is not a great score, and the rack leave has got, well, it's vowel heavy, which isn't good. So is there something better I can play? This really doesn't feel optimal. Well, there are still 4 eyes in the bag, so I'm reluctant to keep any of them. EOR isn't the worst leave in the world, although there are 5 or 6 E's out there and a whole bunch of A's. So I run the serious risk of having a vowel heavy rack next go. Well, I can't see anything better. Right, well that fear has materialised. I've drawn a whole bunch of vowels, and I'm a long way away from a bingo. Double AH and AHA are both words. That might be the best I can do with this rack. And that still leaves, or will leave, 3 vowels and a consonant, so the risk is that I will have another vowel heavy rack next turn. So although I'm 3 points ahead, I'm expecting to be behind and in trouble after my opponent's move. Right, my opponent did have the remaining M and has used it for 40 points. It could have been worse. Well, I've got Har, H-A-A-R. Given that I am 30 to 40 points behind, opening the board slightly is not a bad thing. It's only 21 points though. Can I do better? I certainly need to play off 2 A's if I'm going to leave myself with a vowel-heavy leave, as is inevitable with this rack. I certainly don't want to keep 2 A's. I can't see anywhere better. Okay, the rack is improving slowly. I'm 16 points behind, so I am still in touch. I've got just under 6 minutes left. There are floaters available in Pily and Har, but given that I still have a preponderance of vowels, really I'm looking at just the P and the H. And I can't see anything with either of those letters. Right, well, my opponent scored well, so he's put additional pressure on me. I'm now 60 points behind, and there are 24 tiles in the bag. I'm looking to see if I can use the J in a word beginning at A1, but I can't see one. Right, what shall I do? I don't want to block any of the floaters that I've got. But can I create more openings? Well, this isn't easy at all. There are no candidate moves standing out. Well, there's Ag, 19 points. The leave of Euler is not bad, although it is vulnerable to any vowels that I draw. And it does open a bingo lane in column 14, hooking onto DA. Well, this doesn't feel great. But I'm going to play it. Right. I have Alerion and Dan. Do I have anything which plays anywhere else? I can't see anything through the H of Har. I can't see anything through the P of Pily. So I think it is Alerion. It's only 67 points, but it does seem to be the only bingo available. And that's quite a nice rack, but I don't think there's a bingo there. I'm now only 8 points behind, but it's my opponent to play. So if he scores another 30 or 40 points, that's a significant lead, especially at this stage of the game. I'm looking to play off the Y and the U. Okay, there's 10 tiles in the bag. My opponent only scored 27, so I'm still vaguely in touch. How can I play off the Y and the U? Do I want to leave the triple word square at H15 open? Let's see what this looks like. There is still a blank out there, so playing off 6 tiles increases my chances of getting it. It scores 38 points. I think I will leave myself in the laps of the tile gods. Right, well that's not a great pickup, but I am level with my opponent. He plays very quickly, Ken for 27 points. There's only 2 tiles in the bag. The tiles left aren't great. I'm looking to see if I can use the J at D1, and I can't see that I can. Gosh. I could play Biog at L3, but that would enable my opponent to play Wage at O1 for an easy score. Well, I'm struggling. I'm struggling and I'm running out of time. Biog scores well. 24 points. I have Wooer. I'm not sure if I have anywhere to play it. Well, at least my opponent can't play Wage. I have 43 seconds. My opponent has 11 minutes. So he may take time and try and guarantee the win, or he may play quickly to put me under time pressure. We're dead level on score at 397 each. I really can't see any good places at all on the board for me. Well, A13 down, I've got Woo for about 20 points, and then with ER I could certainly go out. Swaver, okay. He hasn't gone out. Is Woo the best I can do? Swaver 34 points. This scores 20, which gives me 417. I'd be 14 behind. My opponent is going to go out. I don't think there's anything I can do to affect the result of this game. Yeah, I can't see anything better than Woo, although there may be. But I'm fairly sure there wasn't a winning move available. My opponent has many places that he can play his E, so I expect he's quickly scanning the board to find which scores the best. Right, that ends the game. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I think there were several interesting spots in that game. In particular, there were questions as to whether or not to open the board up at various times. For example, when I played Har. So I hope you enjoyed watching it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.